Magic Weekend, and this is the longest day. 4 battles coming up live from Murrayfield in the Magic Weekend Day 1, and all of them available for you live and in high definition on Sky Sports HD4. You find that now on channel 454. We start a fantastic couple of days of live action with Bradford against the Crusaders, and that's the way the table looks as we come into this weekend. It's Bradford Bulls closing in on the lead as they could overtake Huddersfield at least for the next 24 hours or so if they win here, and the Crusaders will be knocking on the door of the top 8 themselves if they get a couple of points here. Now this is the way the weekend shapes up. We begin in a few minutes time with Bradford and the Crusaders, then it's Hull against Harlequins at 3, Salford will take on Warrington at 5, and Leeds against Wakefield at 7. We all come back tomorrow for Castleford and the Catalan Dragons at 2, Wigan against Huddersfield at 4, and St Helens against Hull Kingston Rovers at 6 o'clock. Well, yes, it really is a unique event, this. We've got all 14 clubs, as you see, from the Engage Super League. We have 7 games coming up for you over the next 24 hours. Each and every one this year is live here on Sky Sports. And what makes it so special is, of course, it's not just a weekend spring festival. There are actually 2 Super League points at stake in each and every game. And we reach the midway point just about of the Super League season come the end of this weekend jamboree. Now, I was about to give you the team news, but I'm hearing that there is a very late change for the Bradford Bulls. Let's go outside and join Bill Arthur, who will bring us right up to date. Bill, what's the news?
Eddie, Steve McNamara just taking his seat in the stand, having had to just pull Michael Platt out of his side because of an ankle problem. And I understand that Platt has been carrying this problem for some time and had a painkilling injection ahead of the warm-up here, did the warm-up. They've decided in the dressing room that he can't take part. And so the word is that Jason Crooks will come straight into the Bradford Bulls starting lineup. So Platt out, Crooks in for the Bulls.
Interesting, so let's take a check on the way the teams will line up then, and there is the news that Crooks starts in the centres in place of the luckless Michael Platt. It's Carney at fullback though, then it's Sharif, Crooks, Nero and Halley, Sykes and Orford. Good news for Bradford, Matt Orford is there. Up front, the prop forwards Nick Scruton and Andy Lynch the skipper, in between them Heath Lestrange the hooker, then it's Elliot Whitehead, James Donaldson and Steve Menzies is the loose forward. And the substitutes bench occupied by Glenn Hall, Wayne Godwin, Michael Warrensey and Craig Kopjak. The coach, Steve McNamara, part-time England coach, of course. Now then, the Crusaders. They've got Clinton Shifskovsky at fullback, and what a day for Gareth Thomas on the wing for the Crusaders. He won the Heineken Cup here with Toulouse on this very pitch in his days in rugby union. 5 months ago, he switched codes and he's back here on the Murrayfield pitch, the scene of one of his biggest days. Inside him, Rhys Hanbury, then it's Mellors and Youngquest with Witt and Lupton at halfback. The forwards, O'Hara, Withers and Bryant, Huraki, Chan and Trimarchi. And on the bench, their new signing from the NRL, Jared Samity, only arrived in this country on Wednesday, I believe. Winterstein, Peake, and former Great Britain international Jamie Thackeray. The coach, Brian Noble, and of course the match having added spice for him because Brian Noble is up against his former club, the Bradford Bulls. Well, we moved to Edinburgh last year after the opening 2 years of the Magic Weekend in Cardiff. And as you can see, it really is a day when the fans get dressed up. They come along to enjoy not only the matches, but also whatever Edinburgh has to offer in terms of their socialising before, during and after the match. And these players kicking the festival off for us here today, it's a big ask for them because it's very early in the day. It's a chilly, chilly day, I must say, outside. There is a pretty stiff north wind blowing. And if any of the supporters last through till 9 o'clock tonight and watching each and every one of the games, well, they will be doing well. Right, let's go outside then and join our commentators for this opening match of what they're calling Super League's Wacky Weekend in Edinburgh. Magic Weekend 2010. It's about to get underway. Terry O'Connor, Brian Carney are waiting for us. But first of all, we'll hear from Rod Studd.
Eddie, thank you. This time last year, the Magic Weekend produced 356 points, 62 tries, 84 penalties, and 1 hat-trick. And that hat-trick scorer plays in our opening match, Paul Sykes, who bagged 3 in Bradford's win over Wakefield. He and the Bulls coming to this match on a 6-game unbeaten run, the best sequence in coach Steve McNamara's stint at the Grattan Stadium. That run includes a 2016 win over today's opponents. That was a real nail-biter, though. Brian Noble's Crusaders led 16-14 with 8 minutes left, only to be beaten by Michael Platt's late try. And Platt's late withdrawal here may have a disruptive element on Bradford's plans as they take on the Welsh outfit. Alongside me, Brian Carney and Terry O'Connor. Gentlemen, your thoughts on our opening game of 7 over 2 days?
Rod, they've lost Platt, but Jason Crooks is a real talent in this side. He'll come in and playing on a big stage, and that's what you see. There's a lot of players that have been negative about this game, but there's going to be a lot of pluses from certain players who don't manage to play on the big stage, and you'll see some real stand-up performances from people that you don't really think will be able to come up with that game.
I'm looking to see how the referees this first game. They usually meet beforehand, and this guy, I think, today will set the tone for the weekend. How much time is he going to allow in this tackle, or will he be blowing and calling move early?
Well, our referee is Richard Silverwood. And as Brian was hinting there, we see some very open games over the 3 Magic weekends we've seen so far, averaging over 50 points over the matches that were played. 2 stints in Cardiff and 1 here at Murrayfield last year. It's the Crusaders with first use of the football, and Brian Noble going up against his old club Bradford for the 9th time, and has a very good record against them. 5 wins and 3 defeats in his time as Wigan coach, and now in charge of the Crusaders.
And Crusaders are up against the Bradford side. They were outstanding in defence, in and around the ruck area. They control the speed of ball, which Hull KR played the game last week, and that's what happened, and that's why they got the win.
Yeah, it'll be key to start well here. They were very, very tight, the Crusaders, at the Grattan Stadium in Oddsall. They're moving this ball on the last tackle and finally getting the kick away. We'll see a lot of kicking today from Michael Witt, the man who put the boot to ball there. In terms of attacking kicks in the competition, he's second only to Michael Dobson at Hull KR, and his kicks have produced a heck of a lot of tries for the Crusaders this year.
Nice kick. Important to get your your first kick down there early, down the bottom. Force Bradford to run it out here. That's a good positive set from Crusaders, but you can see what they're trying to do. They're going to jam it in tight on these big Bradford forwards and kick down to the corners.
A big pitch here at Murrayfield. Fairly lush out there. It'll be interesting to see how it stands up to 7 games. 4 today, 3 tomorrow, right through into the last game between St Helens and Hull KR tomorrow evening.
Well, there already looks to be a problem with Andy Lynch limping in back plays, left thigh heavily strapped. He will be a big loss if he has to leave the pitch.
They can't afford that, can they? Over 300 career appearances, 160 for Bradford. Sykes makes half a break. He's got Orford inside him. There are 3 men screaming on this near side. The Bradford left. Orford went right. The ball was knocked on. Well, hard to criticise one of the greatest scrum halves the game's ever produced, but did he go the wrong way there?
Good defence by Crusaders. He had options on his right, on his left-hand side. Look at that for a shot.
Jason Chan, or I think it was a Weller Iraqi, absolutely cleaned them out.
Yeah, he went inside to Brett Carney, who was being double-teamed, really, and it would have been an act of magic to have got the ball under control and offloaded for the Bradford fullback. There were 3 guys on this near side, but Orford went the other way.
Well, Crusaders have got started really strong. Last week when they played, they conceded 2 tries in the first 9 minutes, and Brian Noble have been concentrating all week that he'd got to start strong, get off the line, put pressure on this Bradford side.
Referee Richard Silverwood calls a halt to proceedings, and rightly so.
Is it Heath Lestrange that's knocked out? He's not moving. Oof, just puts his head in the wrong side. I think it's Mark Bryan. Just runs straight into him. You can see that he's out before he hits the ground.
Don't get caught in that position.
Yeah, good bit of refereeing from Richard Silverwood. Rugby league, as we all know, is a game that likes to continue and will play round players that are not seriously hurt, but you know, that was a nasty one, Terry, wasn't it?
Well, you can tell straight away, Rod, when a player's going to be out. Steve McNamara's concerned, knowing that his key hooker is down on the ground, he's not moving. Brian Noble be happy with the start his Crusaders side have made.
Yeah, McNamara, as we mentioned, in the richest vein of coaching form of his Bradford career, unbeaten in 6 games as we watch the injury to Lestrange, again one of 4 ex-Manly men in the Bradford side. But McNamara going exceptionally well at the moment. Hasn't produced the trophies that his predecessor produced, but of course went into the job in a very different set of circumstances, with Bradford having financial problems and not the wherewithal, not the resources that they had under Brian Noble.
Well, that's a good sign. They've took the stretcher off. He's sitting up, he's getting to his feet now. Heath Lestrange. He won't want to leave this pitch. A key player for this Bradford side.
Well, it's a question of whether Lestrange may be a bit too brave for his own good here, but Bradford don't want to use an interchange. Should he be coming off, Brian?
No, he'll know himself, and they've got expert medical attendants out there. He's fine, he's a tough player. He'll want to get out and finish this.
Well, last tackle in amongst all the disruption, and the players of both teams need to be switched on here as Witt moves the ball to Lupton. Lupton throws a dummy and then puts in a nothing kick, really, and Ricky Sharif will collect on the far side. And well, the Crusaders really would have been wanting to start the defensive set a lot closer to the Bradford line.
He's going to be disappointed at deciding to go 2 passes wide on the last tackle, and he'll look for a bit more out of that kick. Made it too easy for Sharif to return it to the 30.
Well, they try something different, and everyone knows that the Crusaders' kicking game revolves almost entirely around Michael Witt. They tried to conjure up a different plan. The ball was kicked forward by Lupton. It didn't work. Bradford come left with Chris Nero, and he was looking to utilise Dave Halley, but went himself.
They look very strong down this left-hand side. That's the second break they've made in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, they do indeed. And well, they'll be targeting Gareth Thomas, won't they? They'll be assuming that he's not quite fully clued up with the defensive systems of a rugby league team, as Orford puts in a kick off the outside of his right boot. No dramas. It will be a dropout if they can force him back over the line.
He's lost
the
it.
ball has come loose. Richard Silverwood's got a decision to make here. He says it's a knock-on. It'll be a scrum down Bradford, 10 metres away from the Crusaders' line.
Good pressure from Bradford. Look at that. Would not let the player go to ground. He tries to ground the ball, stay in the field of play to knock on. All the pressure now going to this, going against Crusaders, should I say. Fantastic defence from Bradford.
Not a mistake you'd expect from a guy with the experience of Clinton Tchaikovsky, though. 34 years old and played for some of the top clubs in the NRL, Canberra and Parramatta, and 9th on the list of point scorers in the NRL, and it was a mistake that he really oughtn't to have made.
Yeah, you can see what he's trying to do and stay obviously in the field of play, but that's a bit loose from him. You're right, he's one of the experienced players, and his goal kick could become vital in this game.
You do wonder sometimes whether players panic too much about conceding a goal line dropout. It's not the end of the world. It's a lot better to concede a goal line dropout than a scrum 10 metres out from your own line. Here's Nero, who offloads wildly into touch, and the Crusaders have got away with it.
You mentioned they had a bit of joy the last time they played down this right Crusaders edge, trying to pick out on Gareth Thomas, and they dealt with it in that stage. Vince Mellors and Gareth Thomas are really going to have to be on their game today, because I can feel Bradford will load that left-hand edge.
But it's not about scoring every time you get on. Just build a bit of pressure. They've been building pressure. They've got down there. They forced a mistake from Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, we're talking about experience then, Brian, and you know, Gareth Thomas has got loads of that in rugby union, 100 rugby union caps, but in terms of rugby league, he's still a novice, isn't he? 7th game in rugby league, and it's almost predictable, really, that Bradford are going to target his wing.
Absolutely, but I guess Brian Noble's picking him in his side, and Brian Noble will know a good rugby league player, and he's confident with him in this side. So I guess that's the greatest compliment you could pay the player at this stage.
No points on the board then. We're in the 7th minute here at Murrayfield. First of 4 games today. A feast of rugby league here on Sky Sports, and 3 more games to follow in the Magic Weekend tomorrow afternoon. Last tackle of this set for the Crusaders. Well, they'll utilise Lupton again, despite his ordinary kick last time out, and that's straight down the throat of Brett Carney. And this set for Bradford is going to start pretty close to the halfway line, you'd feel, as Halley offloads to Ricky Sharif, spins out of one tackle, looking for a gap, looking for an opportunity. Well, he's run 20-30 metres, but about 2 of them were forward, and he goes to ground.
Defensively, Bradford have started this game very strong. Look, every time that one of the forwards goes to the line, they've got someone pushing up in that next hole in support. There's the mistake.
There is the mistake, and Crusaders will have their first decent field position of the afternoon, courtesy of that knock-on.
Brett Carney, in his urgency to play the ball, just has a little fumble as he's trying to ground it to play it.
Just hold that 10.
Their previous carnation as the Celtic Crusaders, they were here last year, the Welsh outfit, beaten heavily by Huddersfield, and only 5 survivors from that magic match: Bryant, O'Hara, Chan, Lupton and Withers. So it just shows what a turnaround there's been since the club moved to Wrexham, and since Brian Noble, John Sharp and Yestin Harris and the rest of the coaching team took over. Witt has been a key import, no question about that. He really has been the man who's been making them tick so far this season. Lincoln Withers now moves to dummy half as the Crusaders launch an attack from 40 metres out. Lupton now looking to set up something here down that left-hand side. That's the Crusaders left. Ricky Sharif's wing as far as Bradford are concerned. Not a lot of pace about this attack, though, you'd have to say. But now half a chance as a break is made. And, well, Bradford under a lot of pressure all of a sudden, having dominated the first 8 or 9 minutes or so. Lincoln Withers once more. Keeping it tight, keeping it in the forwards. Mark Bryant. You're going to see another one of these little chip kicks towards Mellors, who's so dangerous under the high ball. He scored a hat-trick against Salford, and all of them with the same try, really, from that kind of kick from Michael Witt. He climbs so high. He's a tall guy, 6'4", and that is a key weapon for the Crusaders.
You've got some two very big attackers jumping over Dave Halley there, Gareth Thomas and Vince Mellors. Height-wise, well over the top of him. Going to be difficult for him to defend if they start targeting him.
Not taking any chances there, Dave Halley. He knew exactly that Mellors was coming on, giving him a lot of pressure. Thomas as well.
Come on, lads, let's go.
Yeah, the willingness to concede a goal line dropout indicates that they're pretty confident they can defend the line. You see Huddersfield, when they concede a knock on near their own line or a goal line dropout, and they're very, very confident that they can defend the set that's coming up.
Oh, they could have conceded a try there with the pressure that Crusaders were putting on them.
Paul Sykes will drop this one out, and as we mentioned, he bagged a hat-trick here last year. Happy memories for Paul Sykes in that comfortable win over Wakefield for the Bradford Bulls. That's their only Magic win, though. They lost the 2 games in Cardiff.
That's a good result from a dropout.
That is a big kick. The kick, the chase, they're over the halfway line.
As Bryant comes bullocking forward for the Crusaders. Will they have a presence this season? Now Chan.
Hold. Go.
And Witt goes into dummy half, and Withers at first receiver this time. Lupton coming standing wide and throwing a dummy or two before running into heavy traffic. Still a couple of tackles left in this sequence as far as the Crusaders are concerned. And now, what's the last tackle option going to be? From a central position, 15 metres out. You'll feel it'll go by the boot of Witt. It'll be the same tactic it's worked so often this season. It's aimed towards Thomas and to Withers, and Thomas gets a hand to it. But a penalty to the Crusaders. Well, they said he was blocked. Richard Silverwood saying that Thomas was blocked off.
Yeah, penalised Nero there. Backing into the... You just watch Nero here. He's taken a line and made contact with Gareth Thomas. You're going to get penalised for that. There's a smarter way to defend that. I think Chris Nero, if he had his time again, it wouldn't make his movement so obvious.
Well, there are penalties and there are penalties, and that's probably the worst penalty to concede, isn't it? On the final tackle, about 10 metres from your own line. It gives the opposition a fresh set right on the line. Knocking at the door, the Crusaders for the first time this afternoon. With Withers again, buzzing around from dummy half. Lupton looking to go himself. Offloads, was it forward? It was. If it wasn't, it was knocked on anyway.
There was a lot, let's credit Nick Scruton. There's a lot of sting in that tackle. He forces Lupton to offload it. Defending really strong, the try line, Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford will be pleased that Nick Scruton's playing, won't they, Terry? He was before the disciplinary for a big hit on Joel Clinton in the Hull KR game, and well, exonerated and free to play. So that's a big boost for Bradford.
Well, Nick Scruton, Heath Lestrange and Andy Lynch have been standouts for this Bradford side. But you've got to say Dave Halley's going to be under pressure right through this game, along with Chris Nero.
What this opening 12 minutes will have told Bradford is that they're playing against a big, aggressive team. They got some big outside backs, some big abrasive forwards. They can't give them too much time down on the Bradford line there, or they might come up with a result soon.
The players know all about each other. They played recently at the Grantham Stadium when Bradford just got home, 2016, but the Crusaders were 16-14 up with 8 minutes left, so there'll be no hint of Bradford taking the Crusaders lightly. And indeed, they've really surpassed all expectations this season with the wins they've put on the board. Already got 4 wins, which is more than they had in the whole of last season as the Celtic Crusaders. It's been a terrific start in Wrexham for Brian Noble's boyos. And this is a good start to this match too. Scoreless after a dozen minutes. And Bradford penned back, and Sykes has to give it the long handle and hammer it down into Crusaders territory. And the Welshman won that set of 6, really, defensively.
They need some good field position, Bradford. Crusaders have started to step up the speed of this game, pressuring Bradford every time they get the ball. They're not waiting for them to make the plays.
Hiding last week against Huddersfield, and you mentioned, Terry, didn't you, that they were beaten 40-16 by Huddersfield, and that Brian Noble would have been looking to tighten up the defence, which is the first thing you want to do after a bad defeat, isn't it? Make sure that you don't concede so heavily again, and that's clearly happened.
Absolutely, he'll want them to knuckle up. They do play a simple game in attack, but it's quite effective. You have to be on your game in defence.
See that knee out, Eve?
You can only work with the players you've got, and we all know that Brian Noble was having to wait very late to get players on board.
It's not so much the player he's got, it's the time he's had with the rod that's limited what they can do on the field. I think if this team stays together, we see them running it on the last.
Well, it was a kick forward from Lupton, which was picked up by Steve Menzies. Now, Steve Menzies, at his ripe old years, is not going to have the pace to go the length there, but he's wise enough to hold on to the football.
But let's credit Steve Menzies here. He's looking for support, he's looking to pass the ball, he just takes the tackle because he knows it's an impossible pass to get away.
Yeah, sign of experience, and 36 years young, Steve Menzies, one of the great try-scoring forwards of the modern era. Second on the try-scoring list in terms of forwards last year. He's a prolific 4-point scorer. Well, Bradford, there's Steve Menzies, a Manly legend. Orford offloading, and offloading well to Nick Scruton. Last tackle then for Bradford, 20 metres out. Will they go to this near side to Thomas's wing? No, they don't. And a little chip forward from Sykes is just going to run dead. It was an agonising race. For a moment, it looked as though Jason Crooks, the guy who's come in late into the team after Michael Platt's injury in the warm-up, just about got there but couldn't quite.
And they've got a bit of space in these in-goals as well. Might see a few tries scored from little kicks slid in behind. I think Crusaders will want to smarten up on their last tackle plays. There's a couple of kicks now that they've got nothing out of. If they want to win this game or have a chance of winning this game, they've got to be very, very good with their last tackle plays.
Yeah, that injury to Michael Platt in the warm-up, an ankle problem. Jason Crooks coming in. I mean, how difficult is it to come in cold, Brian? Or if you're 18th man, do you just prepare like you're playing?
Well, you should do. They say you should do, but it's still a big ask. It's still a big ask, but once the whistle's gone off, he'll be fine. It'll be just a few minutes once he knows that he's going to start.
The whistle goes again from Richard Silverwood for a Crusaders penalty.
Well, he's deemed that Chris Nero made a play for that ball.
Oh, he's calling for dragging. He's calling
in a pulling position.
He's calling. Dave Halley's pulled it. He says he's in a pulling position. Obviously, in the new rules now, you can drive, but you can't pull or drag an attacker out towards touch. It's a difficult one. I mean, he got some momentum going there. The tackle twists, and suddenly from pushing, you end up pulling.
Yeah, difficult. Well, let's just go down to the sidelines and get some important news from Bill Arthur. Bill.
You were mentioning Michael Platt's late withdrawal for the Bulls. Well, it turns out that he did do the warm-up with a pain-killing injection because of an ankle problem he picked up, and they suspect he might have broken a bone in the very back of his ankle, which could be a complicated break to mend. He played with it last week with a pain-killing injection. They thought he could maybe get through this week with it. Turned out not to be the case. Crooks did do the warm-up with them in the fear that might well be the case, as turned out for the Bulls.
You know, that could be a long-term problem. Thanks, Bill. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out over the next few weeks. And Michael Platt has had some terrible problems this season anyway with injuries, and he missed the start of the season. Looks like he might miss a bit more of it as well.
Scruton's really putting himself about this opening 15 minutes of the game.
Well, a chance for first points then. Still nothing on the board. Half a chance here for the Crusaders. Jason Chan almost to the try line, within a metre or so. Withers to Witt. Witt looking to kick again. Chips in goal. Will look to go himself and loose for a moment, and then bundled over the dead ball line by Brett Carney to force a second goal line dropout for the Crusaders.
Good play by Michael Witt. Exactly what Brian said. Big in-goal areas. Brett Carney not taking any chances whatsoever. He bats that ball dead.
Good full-back play. Good positioning, he's alert. Just keep an eye on Lincoln Withers, number 9 for Crusaders. Been very, very lively in this opening part of the game. Very, very smart, very sharp out of dummy half. Very strong in defence and attack.
Yeah, Michael Witt is the key go-to man for the Crusaders, and we've been playing rugby union recently. Been out of rugby league for over a year. Been playing rugby union in Otago, but has slipped back into his form that he showed when he was playing for the likes of the Parramatta Eels. And
another former Manly player.
Yes, he is. There's a lot of them about on the pitch out there.
We got Mark Bryant as well.
Here's Chan, who barges his way through a couple of challenges. Carney comes across and knocks him down, but now a chance for the Crusaders. They've got, well, men lining up on the far side. Now it finally goes left, flicked on by Lupton. It's loose and the momentum is lost. Well, briefly anyway, but now it's picked up once more. Well, Bradford under a lot of pressure here. The team on a 6-match unbeaten run, suddenly rocking out there. Hambry who got the ball pretty close to the try line over the far side. Richard Silverwood looks on as the ball is offloaded once more to Mark Bryant, sidestepping the big man, 10 metres away from the line. Still the Bradford defence holds firm, and Lestrange is in there recovering from that early bang to the head. Last tackle then, it'll be another kick surely from Witt. No, a dummy inside and a ball that's offloaded. Bradford are wise to it. But still the Crusaders keep coming, and still it's Chan, and now it's going to be Mellors who's over the line, but I'm sure he hasn't got it down. He'll have performed a miracle to have got that down. Richard Silverwood doesn't need the video ref.
Scruton. What great work from Nick Scruton here.
That is good defence. The awareness to where that ball is, all the pressure that Crusaders have had. This is a must-complete set for this Bradford side. They've been under pressure in their own 20 for about the last 10 minutes.
And you know, on the flip side of that, Terry, this is a great opportunity for Crusaders to really rev up.
And look at the speed of that line. You've got to get forward in defence. Don't wait for Bradford to make their plays.
Crusaders having their best spell of the match, but it's the same in all sports, isn't it? If you don't score when you're on top, it usually comes back to bite you.
And what's important for Brian Noble's men in this set of 6 is not to give a penalty away.
Yeah, they haven't given one away all afternoon so far. That's been a feature of the Magic Weekend too. The referees have been fairly open. There's been relatively few penalties. As I mentioned, 84 last year in 7 games, which is less than the tournament average. Menzies burrowing his way up to the halfway line, and Bradford haven't got out of their own half with ball in hand. Final tackle. Well, a kick from dummy half from Lestrange. And again, I'm sure that wasn't the option that Steve McNamara would have wanted.
But, Rod, that is a good set of 6. They were trapped in their own corner, in the left-hand corner. Crusaders condensed in defence, putting an awful lot of pressure. The speed off the line from the Crusaders was very good, but Bradford managed to get to the kick, and they managed to kick it down 20 yards from the line.
Now, Gareth Thomas has scythed through there. A sensational break from the Welsh international. Steve McNamara, a concerned man, no doubt. That's the kind of silky skills that the Crusaders want to see from Thomas. Won the European Cup here, the Heineken Cup here as a rugby union player, and played here, of course, for Wales many times in the Six Nations. Oh, and that's gone loose. Richard Silverwood says that's fair enough. It was Jason Chan who released the ball. It wasn't ripped out. Well, if it was one-on-one, wasn't it? Orford was smuggling the ball away, so good shout from Richard Silverwood.
You're right, a great run from Gareth Thomas. Good to see him get to stretch those legs. Crusaders fans would be delighted to see that.
Yeah, here it is.
I mean, he's busted through some tired defence here.
It was Menzies, wasn't it? I think it was the last to get through. Donaldson, was it? Yeah, and he just shrugged him off like he was an irritating fly, Thomas, as he swept through. And for a moment, it looked like he might be able to carve his way away down that left-hand side to the try line. But Bradford were quick, and now it's a penalty.
This is good for Bradford. They need to work this ball down into the corner now. Take a rest, take a break. Ref deeming he's held on a little too long in that tackle.
It's Bradford's first penalty, Brian, and it's come virtually on the 20-minute mark, halfway through the first half.
And you've got to say they probably needed that. Crusaders really playing the game at a high tempo speed.
2 penalties to 1. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, because as we've said, the Crusaders have enjoyed all the position and possession in the last 10 minutes, haven't been able to score. They've been close on a couple of occasions. If they were to concede here, it would be a savage blow, really, because Bradford haven't been in the game for 10 minutes. They haven't been in the Crusaders' half for 10 minutes, but now they set up base camp, looking to put the first points of this Magic Weekend on the board. He gets to within 20 metres of the try line. Down this left-hand side, Dave Halley hugging the touchline, waiting for a ball to this near side. That's been Bradford's preferred modus operandi as Lynch offloads to Lestrange, and Lestrange spotted half a gap which closed very quickly, but Bradford are literally knocking on the door now with Carney going to that far side. Sykes looking for a long ball. Well, Crooks is knocked down. He was slipping as he went to ground. There's a lot of rain in the Edinburgh area this morning. The pitch will be just a touch greasy. Donaldson burrowing his way towards the try line. Crusaders hold firm. Richard Silver says this is the last. What's in Matt Orford's locker? Will it come to Matt Orford? Surely it will. Here he is. A little kick to the near side. It's behind Halley. Oh, plucked out in the air by Gareth Thomas, like plucking an apple from a tree. Thomas is away. Sharif coming across. Thomas won't have the legs. Oh, he's got the sidestep though. That was sensational from Gareth Thomas. He just weaved away from Sharif quite brilliantly. Can the Crusaders turn it into points through Michael Witt? Michael Witt scores, but you might as well call it Gareth Thomas' try. A brilliant try from Michael Witt. Crusaders lead 4-0.
That is a wonderful try. That is a wonderful try by the Crusaders, and all credit to Gareth Thomas, and all credit to the composure he had at the end of his run to take the tackle, play it as quickly as he could, and let Crusaders attack a fragmented Bradford defence.
Well, Michael Witt, first to congratulate Gareth Thomas's 4th Super League try of the season. But Gareth Thomas, that was absolutely brilliant. The break and then the sidestep inside Sharif, and as you said, Brian, the presence of mind to get the ball played quickly, and with the defence shot to pieces, the try was on.
Well, the best players in the world of rugby can deal with all kinds of pressure, and that's exactly what Gareth Thomas done then. He cut inside Ricky Sharif, he got up, played the ball as quick as he could, and they're flooding forward the Crusaders. Bradford cannot get back to prevent this try. And it all come about from the urgency of Gareth Thomas. Michael Witt, a real attacking threat every time he gets the ball. Simple try for Michael Witt.
It'll be a simple conversion too, Terry, won't it? Michael Witt will shortly take his seasonal points tally to 92, but the real statistic that matters is that the Crusaders lead this game. The 14-point underdogs lead by 4-0, and this really is a gimme for any kind of Super League goal kicker. 6-0, the Crusaders in front, and you have to say that they deserve to be in front, don't they?
Absolutely they do, and I think the tiredness that you saw in that Bradford attack and how slow they were in getting back to chase the break is a result of the pressure the Crusaders showed in the first 20 minutes of this game. As we see Witt cross the line here for the try made by Gareth Thomas's fielding of the ball and run. But it's absolutely the pressure that Crusaders have put on this Bradford defence that have tired them out. It's an energy battle. We often hear it in commentary. The coaches come on here and they talk about the energy battle. At the moment, you would say that Bradford are low on energy and the Crusaders are high on it.
Terry, you made the point, didn't you? You don't have to score on every play, and the Crusaders have reaped the benefit from all the pressure they've put on in the last 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, they have, and you've got to say, Michael Witt is one of those players who's got a knack. He puts himself where the action is, and he always gets rewarded. He's a real key player for this Crusaders side.
Yeah, the Crusaders shuffled their pack, as we mentioned in the off-season. It's a penalty here to the Crusaders. I mean, it appeared that they were presenting a blueprint for disaster at the start of the season, as they didn't even know where they were playing, when they were playing, who would be playing for them. But I'll tell you what, in all the adversity at the start of the season, Brian Noble's boys are producing the goods.
Well, it's Elliot Whitehead giving a penalty away, stripping the ball off Jamie Thackeray. And I say it all the time, you only give penalties away when you're under pressure.
Stay off the ball, Elliot, okay.
What you got to remember, Rod, is although Brian Noble has had limited time, he's got a very, very experienced set of players out there. These guys have played hundreds of NRL games between them down in Australia. You've got Jamie Thackeray, a Great Britain international. Gareth Thomas, although he's a novice to rugby league, has played in some big games, so he has got quite a bit of experience out there.
Yeah, and the fact is that no one has won more Super League games than Brian Noble. In the summer era, he's won 209 games in all competitions.
Absolutely right. The test for Crusaders is going to be off the field and the crowds they get. On the field, they've got the team to worry people.
And the worry here for Bradford is that Mellors is going through some very tired tackling here, and the big worry is that there's still 15 minutes left in this first period, and Bradford looks short on gas already as Lupton spins it wide. The Crusaders looking to be a little bit more expansive now. Maybe they feel that they've ground Bradford down and they can take advantage of a weary, tiring Bradford Bulls defence.
And that just goes to show you've got to control possession. They only leaked one try last week.
Well, Bradford could leak another one here, and it'll be 2 in, 3 minutes? Last tackle. If they can get the ball out to this near side, Gareth Thomas throws his arms in the air and said, if that had come out towards me and Vince Mellors, we'd have been in there. But Bradford have managed to just about hold on.
And again, good play by Brett Carney, the full-back for Bradford. He knew that he had to go in, he had to be strong in that collision on Lincoln Withers. Otherwise, it was on this right-hand side.
Crucial set for Bradford. Crucial set. Crusaders can really pin them down here now.
Bradford demolished Hull KR last week. They demolished Dewsbury in the Cup as well, and now they've got a penalty. Well, they needed that, didn't they, Brian? That's exactly what they wanted.
Will be fuming.
It's Lincoln Withers who's been flagged up by referee Richard Silverwood. Ball steal. It's an error they could ill afford to make because they had Bradford pinned down. Mind you, they've not made much ground on that penalty kick, but the fact is they've got a new set of 6 coming up, and instead of being pinned down inside their own half, they're going to be in Crusaders territory here with this all being
and they'll be hoping they can put in some sort of attacking kick at the end of this set instead of a defensive kick. They'll need to make some ground first, though.
This is the Crusaders' 8th trip on the road this year. They're a game behind at home because they had that game postponed down at Neath against the Harlequins. They've got a game in hand on every team in the competition, bar the Harlequins. So they're used to being on the road this season. Carney for Bradford.
Good run.
Well, Richard Silverwood said move, and they didn't move. And Withers has conceded a couple of penalties here, back-to-back, as Bradford have piggybacked down the pitch. And now the Crusaders' line is going to be under threat.
We're saying Lincoln Withers had a little play at that. That's what Richard Silverwood give the penalty away. They take a quick tap.
They do, and Captain Andy Lynch, oh, and he offloads acrobatically towards Warrancy. Warrancy does in the end get his hands on the football. There's Wayne Godwin also involved as Bradford shuffle their pack. There's a couple of substitutes there off the interchange bench, linking up. Steve McNamara changing things around. Hint of another penalty there.
They need to play direct. They need to play direct. You've got Matt Orford going in. They're on 2 rucks before, nobody's going forward. Nobody's hitting the advantage line. Nobody's offering themselves.
Sykes running into heavy traffic down the Crusaders left, the Bradford right. Godwin coming across to dummy half, a man who's got vast experience as hooker. He's pretty close to 50 games for Bradford, and that'd be 3 Super League clubs he's played 50 games with, so knows what it's all about. Orford prods a kick through towards Chris Nero. Thomas goes in where, well, people would be fearful of putting their feet. He put his head down in there and bravely got hold of the ball. Thomas, one of the stars of the show for the Crusaders so far. He and Michael Witt leading the charge, and the Welshmen lead with 12 minutes to go before half-time. Just 6 points on the board. Michael Witt's trying conversion, the difference between the two teams.
They want Bradford to stay clean here. As you see, Crusaders just starting to get their nose through the line on this Bradford defence. They've got them retreating. He'll love this, Withers.
Let's get down to the sideline and get the latest news from Bill Arthur. Bill?
Rod, you mentioned earlier on Heath Lestrange getting a knock, and I think you said that he might be being a bit too brave for his own good. Well, he did stay on after he was down for a while on the halfway line, and he's now left the field, and he's been tended to by the Bulls doctor, just examining the neck, and he does seem to be in a little bit of discomfort. So whether he might have just aggravated the injury by staying out there is what the Bulls will be looking at half-time.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, it was a really hefty knock. And while that was happening, the Crusaders got another set as Lupton's kick cannoned off Donaldson. And from it, well, they failed to take any kind of advantage. And in fact, handed the advantage to Bradford as Haraki Weller knocked him.
Yeah, Rod, they'll want to sort out that kicking play. And they can ill afford, I think, against a team of Bradford's quality to not be pinning the ball down in the bottom corner.
What Bradford will want is to take some energy out of Crusaders.
Yeah, Godwin, who's on for Lestrange, as Bill was saying. Lestrange now down on the bench, looking pretty much the worse for wear. Bradford going to have to monitor that very closely. Here's Warrancy, Michael Warrancy, trying to squirm through a half gap. Bradford desperate for points, desperate to get back in this game as the half hour ticks round on the clock. Orford, the string puller, finds Carney. Well, there's a couple of men out wide who wanted the football. He didn't go wide, he kept possession, but he moves it up inside this time towards Warrancy, and Warrancy knocking a few holes in this Crusaders defence. Godwin, the offload, and the 4-man tackle comes in, and it's enough to hold Bradford out. McNamara shakes his head as Andy Lynch got very, very close to the whitewash.
Warranty done a fantastic job playing that ball at speed, but nothing come on. Lynch taking the ball, trying to go to the sticks to crash over for the line. But the space is out wide on either edge of this Crusaders defensive line.
It's good defence from Bradford so far in this set. 2 tackles down.
The Crusaders have had some good days against Bradford last year's County Crusaders. Their very first win in the Super League was that shot win at Oddsall in May. 30 points to 24. Luke Dyer got a couple of tries that day, but he's out of the side at the moment, injured. The guys there missing.
Good run, Thackeray.
Well, they kick, and they kick early, and they look to kick deep. They look to split Carney and Ricky Sharif. Carney collects 20 metres from his own line.
And that's okay, and a good decision to kick early. They were getting dominated in defence. Bradford weren't going to be set on the last tackle. It was a good decision.
Oh, I tell you what, Gareth Thomas has made a real blunder there, because there was no one at the play of the ball for Bradford. No one at the play of the ball. If Thomas had got up quickly, Bradford were in an absolute mess. Let's see it again, Terry.
That was silly by Gareth Thomas. You can see Ricky Sharif saying, get behind me, get behind me. He couldn't play the ball to some of his players who retreated behind to bring that ball forward. That's a silly penalty by Gareth Thomas.
Yeah, there is a sign of inexperience, because had he just literally popped up immediately and said to Sharif, you've got to play it.
If he just would have left him, there would have been all kinds of trouble.
We'll see a 200-game veteran make the same mistake. Don't worry about that, Gareth Thomas.
Go.
Here's Orford from Bradford inside the Crusaders' half. They're now in front on the penalty count, having been behind early on, but they aren't in front on the scoreboard, and that's all that matters. Just one try. Michael Witt scored it and converted.
Bradford have got to give Matt Orford more options. He's gone across the park. He's looked to drop somebody off. Somebody else should have been hitting a line outside him.
Key man to this Bradford team. And the last game they lost was at Hull, and that was the only game Orford's missed this season when they looked completely impotent in attack.
But the reason why Matt Orford is very dangerous because he doesn't preempt plays. He plays what's in front of him.
Bradford 10 metres out again. But haven't really cut this Crusaders side open yet. Godwin. Well, half a chance it was for Paul Sykes, who's been knocked over at the play of the ball, and the whistle goes. It's a penalty bang in front. Surely they'll run it.
And that was the correct decision. That was the correct decision. Sykes had run really hard into that. He could have taken a quick tap.
That's the right decision to run it too, isn't it? 2 points, not a lot of use at this stage. This is a third straight set as well. Pressure on the Crusaders line. Lynch, well, it's that tried and tested method from close range for Andy Lynch. It's like the good old days when Paul Anderson used to score all those tries.
Crusaders are really short on the left-hand side.
And that's where Bradford are going. Crooks, well, that is a superb ball and all tackle from Nick Youngquest. Got it absolutely right, timed it absolutely perfectly. Bradford going round in circles, running out of tackles, just 2 left.
Watch Matt Orford go with the sticks.
Here is Orford. He does just that. He looked to burrow through himself, but now the string pull of the kicker is actually playing the ball on the 5th tackle, which is a problem. It goes back to Sykes. Sykes puts a grubber in it, ricochets. Silverwood plays on. So does Paul Sykes. He can't get the ball down.
And Halley cannot believe it. Halley cannot believe he didn't get the pass off Sykes.
Well, let's give some credit to Crusaders. There was a big gap. Sykes gets the ball. He thinks he's going to be in for the try. Gareth Thomas comes up with the shot.
And what's wrong with Dave Halley?
Well, Dave Halley would have had a walk-in. Spoken like a true winger there, Brian Carney. Dave Halley would surely have had what would have been his 4th try of the season. But now a knock-on.
Well, Jamie Thackeray, a loose carry going into the collision.
2 players going different directions.
Well, they're putting pressure on themselves now, aren't they? They've conceded back-to-back penalties. Now they've knocked on 10 metres from their own line.
Well, he's just trying to shove James Donaldson off. In his efforts to do so, he's lost possession of the ball.
Well, this is the time when the Crusaders want to just be shutting this game down and getting through to half-time with a 6-point lead, but they're not doing that. In fact, they're doing the opposite.
No, that's right. I wouldn't say they're self-destructing or anything like that, but there's a little bit of tiredness on show. It's interesting there with Jamie Thackeray, the knock-on being given against him, and in the previous time he ran it out, he won a penalty for a ball steal. I think the referees are really looking to see whether the person attacking the ball comes away in a different direction from the person running the ball. If you can stay and move in the same direction as the attacker and dislodge the ball on the sly, I think you'll get away with it.
Ambry was taking a ride on Brett Carney there. It was enough to knock him down. Sharif, who's in spectacular form at the moment, scored 5 tries in his last couple of games for the Bulls. Now the Bulls on a charge, driving it in. Still a couple of tackles left in this sequence. Godwin to dummy half. Remember Lestrange off injured. Orford with ball in hand. Now it comes to Sykes. Sykes through a gap, and again the door closes on him with a couple of men outside him. Nero and Halley wanting the offload. Sykes sniffing the trial, and again a hat-trick here last year. Orford goes himself. Again Orford is tackled on the final tackle. That's the second sequence it's happened. And well, you see what happens when the playmaker isn't in the pivot position on that 5th and final tackle. You get that kind of finish to a set.
Steve McNamara unhappy. Again, good defence on the try line for Crusaders. They're working hard for each other. They're locking up on the inside. As soon as one Bradford player is standing up, look at the numbers going into the tackle. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no way Bradford are going to get over that try line.
Now, how important is it, Bram, that, you know, Orford isn't being caught in possession on the 5th tackle? Shouldn't he be directing the traffic on the 6th and final tackle?
Yeah, you're right, but if it does happen that he does get caught in, you would hope that they've got some other pivots that can stand up and take charge. I mean, otherwise you just can't rely on Matt Orford to do absolutely everything. I think what he is trying to do is he's a very, very strong runner of the ball. So it's tempting for Matt Orford to take on a defence, and Crusaders will be aware of that. If they don't make a good hit, a good impact on Matt Orford, he's likely to go through the line. You see a problem again on the 5th tackle.
Yeah, a kick
Peter Lupton
scuffed into touch from Peter Lupton.
Well, he's saying that it's played at by Bradford. It's gone into touch, so Crusaders get the ball back.
They get a break there, Terry, don't they? That's a real break. That makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And Matt Orford as well, because he's such a big player, you can sometimes use him as a foil.
Crusaders are going to bring on their new signing. They're going to bring on Jared Samet. Let's go down to Bill Arthur. Bill, what can you tell us?
It's not Jack Sparrow, if that's what you're thinking, because already that's how Jared Samet has been christened by his new teammates at the Crusaders, and in honour of the Pirates of the Caribbean yarns. He's had that sort of journey to join the Crusaders across the world. Flight delayed in Bangkok. He was due to arrive on Wednesday. He only got into Wrexham at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, straight off the plane, into a training session with his teammates, and now onto the pitch in Edinburgh. It's been some journey for the former Penrith player.
Well, his hair grows quick, as well as his moustache.
I remember Brian Carney having a moustache like that once on an episode of Boots
Let
and
me tell you, let me go on record saying that is the most outstanding do in Super League this year. Hats off to Jared Samet. Look, he's a good player. He'll speed this game up.
Super League's very own Johnny Depp is on the pitch then, and the Crusaders are on the attack again. They lead 6-0. This is the final tackle. Perhaps a one-pointer at this stage of the game. And it is knocked over by Michael Witt. Well, he took the option 3 minutes before half-time. They moved 2 scores clear, 7-0 Crusaders.
Well, you called it, Rod. Michael Witt was listening to your commentary. There you go. One of the best kickers in Super League, Michael Witt. You only put pressure on yourself, and Michael Witt had no pressure whatsoever. Ryan Noble, what? You kidding? What have you done that for?
Hey, won't say that, they win by 1.
I remember very famously a game at Bradford when Saints were beating Bradford by 2 points, and Paul Deacon had miscounted the score and dropped a goal, and Brian Noble was pictured in the stand questioning what Paul Deacon was doing in some fairly colourful language, and he seemed to be similarly confused there, but it was a reasonable enough tactic, wasn't it? 7-0, a point there is definitely a point gained.
Yeah, they get the ball back now.
And it puts a bit more pressure on the Bradford side.
Crusaders' first drop goal of the year. Michael Witt's first drop goal of the year. He's scored a lot of points. It was 86 before today. He moves up to 93, one of the leading scorers in the competition. Mind you, he's got a way to go to catch up Pat Richards.
You will say it's times like this that you thank your lucky stars our game only rewards 1 point for a drop goal, though.
Well, it rewards a penalty to the Crusaders. Richard Silverwood blows his whistle once more, and this has been a highly satisfactory first half for Brian Noble's team, no matter what facial expression he was putting on his face there as Witt knocked over the drop goal, because to go through a half of rugby league against any opposition and not concede a try is a big thumbs up from the coach.
Absolutely. Brian Noble will be very happy with the way the Crusaders have defended. Bradford haven't had a lot of quality ball when they've had energy in their tanks attacking the Crusaders line. They will have a say in this game at some stage, this Bradford side. Crusaders know that, but they'll be happy with their first half performance, that's for sure.
Well, Bradford should not get a sniff of the Crusaders' try line here at the remainder of the first half. If this was basketball, the Crusaders would be using as much time off the clock to make sure they had the last attacking opportunity. They should run through this set, and we'll be into the final minute by then. If they can make sure they put a decent kick in at least and pin Bradford back on the try line, that'll be good enough, and it'll be a good first 40 minutes
why
work.
wouldn't they go for the one-pointer at the end of this set?
Well, the difference between 7 in front and 8 in front is probably negligible, isn't it? I would imagine, would be the coach's point of view. It's took them 2 scores clear. They're already 2 scores clear. I reckon they'll try and do a little bit more than that this time. Maybe just get it right on the try and maybe try and force another set. Last tackle.
Oh, well, they put Dave Halley under pressure. They did with a couple of kicks early in the game.
Here's Samet spinning the ball out to Witt. Witt, the commander-in-chief of this Crusaders attack. It'll land just short of the high line. Well, they've allowed Mellors to come out and catch that. He smuggled it away. There's a try here. Michael Witt's over. Richard Silverwood, will he give it? Will he be satisfied it came free? Legitimately, he is. And the Crusaders have scored the try. Bradford just let Mellors pluck that out of the air, which was absolute madness. And he just found Witt, and Witt strolled over for his second.
The kicking game from Crusaders in this first half has been exceptional. They've forced Bradford to come off their own line. They've been pressuring them with the high kicks to this left-hand corner, putting Halley and putting Chris Nader under all kinds of pressure. But it's a 2-pass play from Samet to Witt. They just can't deal with it. And how strong are they? They go in, they're not going to die without wondering. They offload that ball, it goes to ground. But it's Michael Witt, the man who put the ball up in the air. He didn't stand back, he didn't admire his kick. He followed where it was going. And this has been an outstanding first half from Crusaders. Look at the strength to get that ball away. Michael Witt picks the ball up and goes in for the try.
Michael Witt has added the extras from bang in front. The half-time whistle has gone. Michael Witt, all 13 points to the Crusaders. Half-time, Bradford 0, Crusaders 13.
Yes, it's the Michael Witt show, isn't it, in the first half of the Magic Weekend here in Edinburgh. What a performance from Brian Noble's Crusaders in the first 40 minutes of the total of 4 matches that we've got for you live on Sky Sports here this Saturday. Michael Witt, all 13 points, and Crusaders flying. And Bradford, at the moment, well, they look like they are shot to pieces. But Steve McNamara's got a quarter of an hour or so with them in the dressing rooms at half-time. Can the New England coach work a bit of magic of his own?